But thank you very much for responding to our viewer question this morning.
Well, suicide accounts for 9.5% of all unnatural teen deaths in South Africa. On Monday, Teen Suicide Prevention Week begins. This year, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, SADAG, is training teachers on how to identify teenagers at risk. We're joined by SADAG spokesperson Nkini Phasha to discuss what his organization calls a preventable tragedy. Nkini, good morning.
Good morning,
Thanks
Rebecca.
for your time.
Thank you.
This gets underway. I suppose it makes sense to train teachers to identify a teen who might be in trouble, because our kids spend most of their time with their teachers rather than us.
Absolutely. And which is why it's so critical to empower the teachers, the educators, to be able to identify those warning signs. And when they do identify the warning signs, then what steps they need to take to ensure that that young person can actually get the help, the professional help that they require to try and obviously bring down, the suicide rates amongst our teens. I mean, a couple of years ago, we were talking about, the statistics were showing us about 9%. And now we are sitting at almost 10% of teen deaths that are due to suicide. So it's telling us that this battle that we are fighting is far from over, and that we need to actually engage more efforts to be able to start turning the tide in as far as teen suicide is concerned.
I mean, this will be no easy task, though, for teachers in Nkini, because, we're looking at some of them with 30, 40 kids in a class. How do you pay specific attention, or how do you notice one or two out of a lot?
There is no doubt that, our teachers in many schools throughout South Africa are faced with humongous challenges, and lack of resources. And which is why, as SADAG, we don't only just go in once off, and we try and engage with, the educators on an ongoing basis, engaging in workshops that we, visit the schools and we implement. But also is important that, the material that we develop, that those educators have access to that and they can share, with the learners. And in so doing, we are really trying to bridge that gap, the challenges that they face and the lack of resources thereof, to ensure that they can actually be able to assist the learners.
So where are you doing this training? Where will this be happening?
Look, as part of Teen Suicide Prevention Week, we are going to be across South Africa. We'll be hosting free workshops in Gauteng, KZN, the Western Cape, as part of obviously creating the awareness and empowering our communities. We go into schools, and as I indicated, on an ongoing basis throughout the year, we go into communities as well. We engage not only educators but also parents and other community leaders, because we know that young people, they will interact. It could be perhaps someone who is an elder in the church. So we try and really spread across the different individuals within communities, and of course within the schools, but also on social media. We run what we call Facebook Fridays, and that's where young people can actually come on Facebook, that platform, and then interact with the experts in actually being empowered about what is teen suicide, and how they can then be able to, number one, identify the signs, and when they do identify those signs, how then they can actually access the help.
And then how will it work once teachers are trained to recognize that a pupil is in trouble? What happens then? Who do they refer the case to, or are they trained to counsel as well?
Look, obviously teachers, they're not, not all of them are empowered in that manner, but as South African Depression and Anxiety Group, we've got our trained counselors. We run a toll-free helpline, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. So that is where, the first point where the educators can actually refer the learners. But also within communities, we establish support groups, and in so doing, we are really then filtering down into the respective communities in making available those resources on the ground.
All right, very quickly before I let you go, anybody who wants to be a part of this, how do they contact you? Where do they find more information?
Look, we are on social media. Our website is www.sadag.org, but also we run a toll-free helpline, which is 0800 567 567.
All right, thanks very much for that. Good luck for next week. And
Thank
that's SADAG spokesperson Nkini Phasha. More after the break.
We believe in the Bible as the Word of God.
The Bible is so often used to justify discrimination. from homophobia
You don't find 2 male dogs or 2 male lions.
to sexism and racism.
We were one of those churches that in the past used biblical text to support segregation.
Should we heed the perceived word of Christianity or the supreme law of our land? Checkpoint on ENCA.